So here's how I'm thinking this whole thing is going to play out. Is we're going to find out that, like I said in my earlier video, Raymond Reddington, aka Mr. Bones, and Red Reddington, aka Spader, are brothers. And we know, I got my notes here, that Red had to be the U.S. naval officer that turned criminal because there were just too many people that recognize him and don't even question his identity. To the admiral that served over him, to people that served with him, to Enslow, who was on missions with him. Just too many people. And Cooper himself was on a mission with him. And we're going to get to Mr. Cooper in a minute. But my guess is, because if you listen to Enslow, what's his name there? Enslow, you remember Enslow Garrick. The guy that broke into the post office, kidnapped Red. You know, nice guy. Had a big scar on his face. Yeah. He made an interesting comment while Red was in that box. He turned around and told him it was over. Told him, as soon as I get you out of that box, you're mine. No more illusions, no more sleight of hand, no more appearing to be in two places at once. And that's a very interesting thing to say. Because I think that Raymond Reddington and Red Reddington, like twins often do, and I do believe they were twins, would switch identities, personality, like they would fill in for each other to always keep the enemies, the opposition, confused, not on point. And that's how I believe the whole thing played out. And then when we talked to, what was the other guy's name? Anton Veloff. That's this gentleman here, the old guy. Nope, not that one. Sorry, wrong one. Hang on. Nope. I'll find him. There he is. This guy, the old guy here, he made the comment to Red that he would have thought Red was the greatest threat to the KGB if he had believed he was real, because you were like a ghost. We would get a report of you being in one place and then instantly a report of you being someplace completely different. So again, we have that two places at once, which I think is where the twins are playing, who's who. I believe what happened is, as time went on, Red unquestionably fell in love with Katerina. And I believe Raymond unquestionably fell in love with Naomi. And thanks to Mr. Cooper, who I told you we were going to get back to Mr. Cooper, we actually know that Red Reddington and Elizabeth Keene are father-daughter, because the DNA for Raymond Reddington, Mr. Bones, was matched through CODIS. Cooper stole DNA directly from evidence, sent it to an outside lab for independent verification against Keene's FBI sample that she gave. And it came back a parental match for Red Reddington, based on the DNA Cooper gave. Okay. So we locked that one in. We know that Naomi is Jennifer's mother, and that Raymond Reddington is Jennifer's father, because Naomi said so. She said it directly in the episode where Red rescued her from Berlin, and Jennifer recounts the tale that her mother told her while she was in college. So, okay. So we got Red with Elizabeth, we got Raymond with Jennifer, we got two different mamas. All right? But what I believe happened was that Raymond, Mr. Bones, may have taken the whole switching, or may have been in a situation where he had no choice but to take the whole switching back and forth thing to a slightly higher level, and actually had an affair with Katerina. Because don't forget, Katerina was under direct orders to take Reddington down. And Vasilov, however you say his name, the old guy there, he's telling you we could never act because you'd be here and then you'd be there and we never knew. So I think that explains why this next part is so crucial, which is how did Raymond Reddington become Mr. Bones and Red Reddington is untouched? Very simple reason. The killer is Elizabeth Keene. I believe Elizabeth Keene shot her uncle, Raymond Reddington, the night of the fire while he was probably arguing with Katerina as to whether or not Elizabeth, aka Masha, was his daughter. And Red Reddington came in right after Elizabeth, aka Masha, had shot and killed Raymond Reddington, with the cabal hot on his heels looking for the fulcrum. So he rescues Elizabeth, takes off. Katerina, more than capable as a KGB spy to escape a burning house. She takes off. Okay? Masha ends up with Mr. Kaplan because Katerina ends up getting Masha back from Red. Red would have no reason to, at that moment, all of a sudden want to take Masha away from Katerina. But Katerina has to go on the run, and she tells Mr. Kaplan that she needs her to take care of Masha. So Mr. Kaplan is held up in the hotel. We know all that from the flashback images. And she gets the call that she also needs to get out of Elizabeth's life, and that Elizabeth should go to Sam. So Kaplan takes Elizabeth to Sam. Sam raises Elizabeth as his own. Red sends money as needed. Everything is nice. Quiet. Low key. Katerina disappears into the history books. Maybe walked into the ocean. But again, Mr. Senior Citizen sends a note and a photo to Elizabeth that in fact he had tracked Katerina back to Russia, and gives a photograph as proof. But Red has also disappeared to history during all this time. So there's my synopsis of what happened, and it explains why when Red gets Naomi back from Berlin, he says to her, "You have changed." And she goes, "Not as much as you." And I think that's her way of acknowledging that she knows he's not Raymond Reddington. He's Raymond Reddington's twin brother, Red. So that's my theory for Mr. Bones. I believe that when the show returns, once again, poor Elizabeth is going to look foolish for doubting and trying to pull a fast one over on Red. And it really just left one simple question, which actually was answered way back at the beginning, exactly as the writer said. They've been dropping clues the entire time, which is, why would Red Reddington come out of hiding after all those years, turn himself into the FBI, and start this whole Blacklist thing? The answer is very simple. He told you why. Because he has to protect Elizabeth. Because he knew, and he said as much, that the day she joined the FBI, it was only a matter of time before the cabal learned who her mother was. And sure enough, they did find out who her mother was. And they did use that to create the custom virus that killed the senator when they were trying to restart World War III. The Cold War, rather, not World War III. They wanted to start the Cold War. And that's what sent Elizabeth and Red, on the run. So Red knew what would happen when she became an FBI agent. And he knew that no matter how powerful he was as a criminal, he could never help keep Elizabeth safe from the outside, because the FBI isn't exactly known to let criminals, have access to all their information and get involved in cases that relate to their agents unless there's a deeper connection. And that's why he had to come back and do the Blacklist thing to establish that deeper connection. So that's my theory on how this whole thing played out. And everybody will sit there and say, well, why keep it such a big secret? Well, take a moment and think about it from Red's point of view. Okay? His brother shacked up with the woman he loved. Possibly his daughter isn't his daughter, it's his brother's daughter. And his daughter killed his brother. So, and basically that was in cold blood. Because even though she was a child, she just kind of blew him away. Bang, bang, double tap, you're done. So, if it was me, I might want to keep that a secret. I might not want to put that on the 11 o'clock news or the New York Times, that my brother was shacking. I might want to put all that to rest and just leave it be. So, there you have it. After rewatching every episode of The Blacklist, after taking notes and cross-reference and back and forth and everything else, there is my conclusion, my theory on how the Blacklist is going to come to an end. So please leave your comments. Maybe I missed something. Maybe I brought up something you didn't think about. Let's try to figure this out before the show comes back on in January.